Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Markets to Watch from Smack the Markets for week commencing the 1st of July. So with the US and China trade agreement or trade war truce, I should say, over the weekend, that's meant that many markets have switched focus from a risk off to risk on sentiment. And that means we've got strength in the dollar, strength in the US indices, and weakness in precious metals and safe haven currencies. So let's take a look at a few markets here that we're keeping a close eye on in the trading room at the start of this week. So let's come and take a look at the US markets here. The Dow futures contract here, we can see that this has gapped up significantly over the weekend, and we continue to see some bullish momentum after the open. This market's really sort of pushing up towards those all-time highs now. If we have a look at this on the weekly chart, wouldn't be at all surprised to see that now the market's up against these highs, that we might get at least a spike and a push towards those all-time highs and maybe even beyond. Now, where the market is at the moment, and taking into account that gap that we can see here on the daily chart, getting in here, if you're not already in, is a little bit more challenging. Now, last week we did manage to capture some nice trades on these markets off these lows around 26,500 up towards that sort of 26,700 level. But now the market's up here at these highs, I would prefer to be seeing some sort of retracements into some value areas before looking at new opportunities. So if we come and have a look at this on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that there is another level in here around 26,800, where there is previous resistance, which is likely to act as a bit of support if the market sort of retraces back in here. The trouble is, beyond that, there is this other level down here around 26,700 and that gap close. And gaps do have a tendency to close eventually. So for my sort of preference here, I'd rather see a gap close. That would be sort of rather nice. Whether we're going to get that today or not, or certainly in the next sort of couple of days, really depends upon how much these markets sort of weaken off. But certainly this is going to be intraday trading opportunities on these markets at this moment in time. Our bias on US markets, US index markets, is to the long side. Now, if we come and have a look at oil last week has now sort of closed the gap and closed the trading window that we were looking for. So we're looking at opportunities here from 58 up to that 60.50 level. As you can see here on the 4-hour time frame and on the daily, the market's now sort of closed that and closed that this morning as well. So now we're in a situation where we really need to be looking at opportunities above into that new trading window above price, which is around 60.50 up to that sort of $65 level. Maybe on these 4-hour time frames, intraday time frames, we need to see some sort of bit of consolidation. A comfortable break above this sort of 50 level would see us into that area. Now that might not occur until towards the later part of the week or the second half of the week. So another market here that I'm keeping an eye on in the meantime is platinum. Now platinum, we've seen a sort of a reverse around here in platinum, and a sort of a clear bounce here off that sort of 800 level that you can see on the weekly chart. And all I'm looking for here is a bit of a run up to 80.50, up to that sort of 80.50 level to close that sort of window there. Now that's a decent sized move on the lower time frames, and if you sort of come and have a look at this maybe on the 4-hour time frame, you can see the sort of context of where we are. We're about halfway through this sort of current trading window. Markets pulling back into sort of towards sort of value areas here on the 4-hour time frame. But on the lower time frames, on the 60-minute chart, this sort of really comes back into a sort of a really neat consolidation. So we take a look at this on the 60. You can see we're back into moving averages, back into some sort of consolidation here. This is not necessarily an area or good enough quality where I'd be looking for just buying in this area. We'd certainly need to see some sort of maybe a breakout above this sort of 841 area. maybe some sort of consolidation here for a bracket trade instead. So I'm liking platinum, and our bias is on platinum up towards that sort of 80-50 level for a test in the sort of early part of this week. Now, on the currency side of the markets, a lot of the currencies have done a complete about turn, and this is because of the dollar has strengthened significantly on the back of that China trade tariff news. So one market here that we were looking at for opportunities last week and just failed to get in because we didn't get a setup was on AUDCAD. We're liking AUDCAD short. This market hasn't had a gap, as you can see. It's been sort of a little bit unaffected by all of the gaps in the change of the direction of the dollar, and the setup that we were looking for is now still starting to come into play. So what we're looking for here is a trade in the direction of the general trend, which is short. You can see here on the weekly chart that the market's just sort of been drifting sideways for the past couple of weeks. Here on the daily time frame, you can see we've had this sort of consolidation back into the moving averages here, and here on the 4-hour time frame we can see that we've had this sort of consolidation forming here, and this was the actual sort of trade setup that we were looking at. So we're looking for a break at this level and trade opportunities down towards the low, so to complete this sort of trading window. Now we can see that this never triggered last week, and now the market's sort of coming back down close to that sort of trading sort of entry area. So what we're looking for is, again, underneath this level, underneath this sort of area on the 4-hour time frame. If this continues, we're looking for opportunities short on AUDCAD, initially sort of down towards the old lows, down towards that sort of 91.20 level, but overall this has got sort of plenty of distance to go on those higher time frames. So there's a few markets there that we're keeping a close eye on in the trading room this week. I certainly hope it helps, and look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.